Alright, what's up you guys? Welcome on this last live stream of October, and it's only the second live stream of the new channel. However, thank you guys all so much for joining 3.0. It is raining outside. The weather is still absolutely beautiful because it is that almost Halloween vibe. October is coming to an end. We're heading towards November, and weather is getting pretty cold here. So how is everybody doing tonight? First, let's give a huge shout out to all the people in the chat right now. So we have Vulture, All About Villains. How's it going? So many awesome familiar names. We have Derek Holloman, Miss, 13shark, Temple of Diagonal, Zed Burns, Snowglare, Robert Wantlin, who else? Derek Holloman, Ionic Blood. Awesome. I missed you guys too much. It's good seeing all these familiar names back. I know the first live stream I had was very impromptu, and nobody knew what the new channel was called because I did not market it one bit, which is fine because, you know, just look for the name Shark and you'll find me. That's the only way to do it. But how is everybody doing? How is your October? How is your almost Halloween vibes going? Did anyone do anything fun? You guys stress out about the pre-orders? Need a break from studying, says Shark. I mean, yo, well, Shark, there you go. Shark squared. Nice, man. Hopefully I don't distract you too much from the studying. But there is a lot to talk about tonight. It's kind of a heavy loaded stream because there's quite a few reveals, pre-orders, and figures that are already, I guess, shipping right now. So a lot of things to talk about because, again, I believe that the 1027 event, as Rab says, it was a sorry 1027. There wasn't that much stuff, but still an okay amount, and it's pretty much the last event of the year. So at this point we should all be extremely excited because the Dragonflies should be shipping sometime. Even though it says projected for December, I'm gonna take a wild guess and say maybe mid-November, because somebody's bound to get it. Let's see. Snowglare says, luckily YouTube recommended me the channel the other day. They know. Well, that's awesome, and I'm glad YouTube is doing its thing because it's hard for me to, you know, create new channels and then, you know, try to find everybody, you know, who was once on the old channel. So thank you so much, Snowglare, for coming back. I appreciate it. Temple of Diagonal says it's 75 in Ohio. That's crazy. It's like 60, almost 50 something over here where I am in the East Coast. So it's we're all cold over here, and it's raining. Derek Holloman says 1027 was very mid. Yeah, I mentioned it on the other channel before. I believe that Classified, despite still being the strongest brand that Hasbro has up their sleeve at the moment, I feel like Classified has somewhat hit its peak, not in a bad way, just, you know, they've already revealed or released a lot of the main characters in terms of familiar names, like, you know, the Dukes, the Zartans, the Snake Eyeses, the Lady Jays and Scarlets, especially with the retro lines coming in. And those are familiar names that people who even if you're not like a huge fan of G.I. Joe, at least you knew who those characters were. But now we've entered the territory of Cobra Law. We've entered characters like FRAGVIPER, who was in the G.I. Joe Deke series, even though people hated that cartoon. You know, Heavy Duty, because people were more familiar with Roadblock. But Heavy Duty is kind of like a, because the thing is, you know, if you're a fan of G.I. Joe and you knew about heavy duty in terms of the weapons and accessories that he came with, then you would know like that's normal. But for those who were very shocked or not really, I guess you can say, understanding of what's his name, Heavy Duty's weapons were about, and it's like top heavy and all that, just kind of gives you an idea that some people didn't know either that character or didn't know that he was from the old cartoon, or didn't know or didn't have the original O-ring figure, which is fine. But it's just, you know, for someone like me who's been making G.I. Joe videos for like over 5 years now, you can kind of see which people were from the beginning and which ones were from, like, you know, later on. Mr. Madgus, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I'm happy. Oh man, I hope I don't look too ratchet on your TV. I apologize. I didn't put on my clown makeup. 1027 had a strong showing for Transformers. I mean, Transformers is a very interesting property because even though I only collect Beast Wars and not the G1 series, but even then, just by looking at a lot of the Transformers figures, it's like, you know, you got your bazillion Optimus Primes and, you know, so many Bumblebees, I guess. So it's like, how do you know which version is technically the best? Because they have multiple different sub lines, I guess, in those Transformer properties. So for me, it just makes it like, what is like the definitive version of like a Ratchet figure or like Ironhide? Snowglare says Polar Bear is peak for sure. That is a pretty awesome animal. Even then for the Polar Bear, so that's another example, right? For the snake eyes that came with the Polar Bear, a lot of people didn't understand what the purpose of the Polar Bear was, even though it's a freaking fantastic looking animal. You know, if those people had seen the G.I. Joe animated series, they would know that Snake Eyes had an encounter with the Polar Bear in that episode of the Mass Device. So yeah, I mean, it's a very random animal to put in with Snake Eyes, but I guess it just makes sense, so whatever. Derek Holloman says, I'm passing on the what? SS Devastator Z, perfectly happy with the Combiner and Devastator. That's a great, okay. Megatronus and Devastator. Sweet. Okay. So I'll just give it a few more minutes, and then we will start the actual topics of the stream. Yeah, because even the latest pre-orders, which were you know, Xandar, what was his name? Xandar, Dial Tone, and whatever the other that wave was. Again, that's also knocking out a lot of the other familiar names. Once they hit, like, I guess, I'm trying to see where is like the, not cutoff, but because they're spreading out the whole G.I. Joe line. So for those that are in the chat right now, answer this question if you so choose to. Do you think that Hasbro's course correction in terms of re-releasing retro figures will most likely overtake the modern aspect of classified, or do you think that slowly they're going to kind of put away the updated versions and then just stick with the retros at some point? Because we've seen, and this is actually a great way to start the topics of the stream, when it comes to the name only reveals, you know, they revealed, or not revealed, but they announced Retro Flint, TeleViper, and CoverGirl, which in the blonde haired version. So we all knew that Flint was a long overdue figure. There's nothing wrong with the first release. I think that's also a great looking figure, despite what people may think in terms of its design or the armor pieces or whatever. However, you know, with the concept of Scarlet and what was it, like Gung Ho and, you know, all those other retro figures that came out, it was only a matter of time before Flint finally got his double dip, because they had the Tiger Force version, which was whatever for me. Now the thing that I find interesting is, you know, we have TELE. Now TELE seems like a very easy call because he's most probably like 99% going to come without the Trouble Bubble flight pod, so that seems very easy. Probably same weapons, just without the vehicle, which is fine. And probably without the other additional head sculpt that he came with. And then CoverGirl was something that I was expecting, but not too soon. However, seeing how there's going to be a blonde-haired version of CoverGirl, which is a, you know, more so everyone's preferred version of CoverGirl, because in the cartoon, CoverGirl looked very similar to Scarlet, and Duke was confused a few times, calling them by their opposite names, and they're just like, what the hell's wrong with you? So my only guess for CoverGirl is that she will probably come with the same outfit, maybe a new head sculpt, but I think the outfit will probably just be the same thing, just give her like a new head, but I'm just guessing. But I still like the regular CoverGirl. I think she looks great. I love the facial expression, despite some people not really liking it. But yeah. So let me just read the chat real quick. Derek says, I'm passing on the polar bear. Thank you, Toy Collector 3232. I appreciate you joining on the stream tonight. And I don't know either. Liquid Identity says mainline will always be updated. Retros for repaint, reissues, and special exclusive sets for cartoon stuff. I mean, that's pretty valid. Because, you know, point case would be Dr. Mindbender, right? Because after the past few video or shorts that I've done on the channel and reading people's comments or, you know, other places, it seems like people are kind of, I guess you can say, opening their eyes a little bit for the classified line, because before, in the beginning, everyone was just like, I gotta get this figure, I gotta get it, or the FOMO was kicking in very well. And regardless how deep or great the figure looks, even if it sells out, there are people out there that are now saying, oh, it's a good looking figure, but I will wait for a retro version. And same goes with Dr. Mindbender. Because with Dr. Mindbender, you know, he came with that little nice fancy box, and, you know, as I mentioned in the past 2 channels, that they will definitely re-release Dr. Mindbender with a logo on the back, because it's essential to the, you know, vintage figure, and they finally did, which I thought was pretty cool. But now, granted that not every figure is going to get retroed, because there's going, like, for example, Dial Tone, I don't see him becoming a retro figure just because he looks very you know, accurate to both the vintage toy version and a decent updated modern one, so I don't think there would be any version of him to be re-released. But figures like you know, Dr. Mindbender, which we just announced, and then we have TeleViper, which is a figure that comes with a vehicle, so things like that. And a good example would be Blowtorch, which we'll get into in a little bit. But let me just see. All About the Villain says, nah, they will keep 2 lines and double money. I agree. Liquid Identity says, mainline will always be... Oh, okay, I just read that, sorry. Robert Wantland says, I hope not. All I did was replace my Duke Scarlet Gung Ho, and that will be it for me. Snow Glare says, so glad the retro lines keep going. I think the retro line is what's really making collectors more excited, because the updated ones were kind of like a hit and miss for a lot of people, and especially how they're, whatever the first 20 figures were in classified, they decided to course correct and retro those figures out. i.e. like Zartan, Lady J. With this list, we have Flint, I guess Heavy Artillery Roadblock. It's still in the classified packaging, but it's not a retroed figure yet. Scarlet, Duke, Gung Ho, Rakondo, you know, figures like that. Vil the Great, what's up? He says, yo, 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 Shark. Vulture says, yo, Shark, Shark. How's it going? Thank you guys so much for joining. 13 Shark says, you want to get new people into the products while supporting older generation. Getting new blood will be great. Okay, that's completely valid. I respect that answer. Toy Odyssey says, I like the retro line more. Samuel Barnhart says, how much did I miss? Nothing too much, we just started. Vil the Great says, speak Serpentor into existence. So Serpentor will, I feel like, is another fantastic example, because Serpentor came in the fancy exclusive box, and then, you know, he comes with the very famous or signature air chariot. So of course, in the retro packaging, you're gonna get a Serpentor figure just without the air chariot, and maybe that additional snake or whatever. But I think most of it will be pretty much re-released, because again, Dr. Mindbender would definitely is a clear example of them going in that direction. And again, I think like for example, I think Chuckles will probably be re-released, because even though the animated movie version of Chuckles, he wore a white floral shirt with the yellow floral patterns, which was in the movie, and then the toy version, he had a light blue shirt with the pink floral. So there's a really good chance that the retro version of Chuckles, if they so choose to do so, it will come without the handcuffs, the briefcase, the little flower that goes around his neck, and those binoculars and whatever. So All About the Villain says, the way I see it, the higher the popularity of the character, they will get the new age look and then a retro release. If it's not a beloved character, they only get a regular release that's similar to retro. That's very, very valid. I guess a good example for that, All About the Villains, would be Footloose is probably a good example. Who else? All I can think about is Footloose right now. Derek Holman says he's not into the retros too much. I did get one retro eel and Snow Serpent. Oh yeah, well, eels too. A retro shipwreck. I don't see them doing a retro shipwreck just because he's already, aside from the face, he's already as retro as it gets, unless they do like a brand new version of Shipwreck where he's wearing his turtleneck and beanie or something like that. Because I don't see, he's not like the case of like Rock and Roll where they remove like the tattoos and muted the colors and like changed like the deco for a little bit. Benedict says, what up, Shark? What up, Benedict? Thank you so much for joining. Yeah, Vil the Great. I do remember Emily saying it during one live stream event that if they were to ever re-release Serpentor, it would not be the same way that the exclusive version was. And aside from the packaging, my best bet, because if you look at the retro packaging, they're all in that classic card back, and there's no way you can fit Air Chariot in that one. Therefore, I believe they're not going to release the Air Chariot with that Serpentor. Mr. Madga says, retro Cobra Commander with a hood. Oh man, we're waiting for that hood one. Benedict says, thanks for the pre-order link for the Nemesis Immortal. You're absolutely welcome, and congratulations to everyone who got a Nemesis today. Really cool. Sunbow Lady J would be cool. That would be nice because Lady J had like what was it? Dark green pants and then a lighter green torso, or was it? Yeah, I think it was something like that, or was it brown? I don't remember, but yeah. So far, the two Lady J's that we've got are not cartoon accurate for the time being, but we'll see. I'd buy Retro Falcon. Says Samuel. Benedict says Retro Breaker and Retro Grunt. I don't know. I gotta see how they would do a Grunt because Breaker. We haven't heard of Breaker in a long time. Short Fuse, Flash, and Grand Slam says Samuel. Vulture says we need Mercer, Monkey Wrench, Pythona. Pythona would be a really cool figure for sure. I think she's coming just because they've already knocked out, Cobra Commander, Once a Man, and Nemesis Immortal. So the only 3 characters left are the Cobra Law Guard, or the Royal Guard, and then we have Pythona. And Globulus. We need Mercy. Oh, I just read that. Okay, so basically we have Snake Eyes version 4, we have Darklon, we have Crystal Ball, which they said it looks pretty fantastic based on the prototypes of whatever they revealed so far. So I'm pretty excited to see Crystal Ball. I want to see how that's going to turn out. And then Snake Eyes version 4 is a cool one. Darklon, I'm sure he's going to look fine. CoverGirl, like I mentioned before, probably same exact outfit, just a different head sculpt with blonde hair, as it says. And then TeleViper will be without the vehicle, and Flint will probably be, again, if Rock and Roll had the same exact style, just remove the tattoos, it's possible they could cheapen out and give us the same exact mold of Flint from prior and just change the color scheme of it, unless they really retool him and give us a brand new Flint that's more cartoon accurate, because the color scheme of the classified version, the first one, is already pretty accurate to what we have so far, to the original vintage version. So it's just updated, which is cool. So yeah, so I believe these will be the last few names, or I think these are the last names we have for 2024, because in 2025 we have G.I. Joe Day, which will be in February. So we will probably get more new names, but I think for the year of 2024, this will conclude these name onlys, because there's nothing else going to come out at this point, because 10/27 was the last Hasbro event before we get the Dragonflies in the mail. Sean R says, "Sup Shark, sorry I'm late to the party. It's all good, bro. We're just getting started." Robert Wantland is excited for Crystal Ball. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of an underrated figure. I mean, he looks weird, and it's very out of the element of G.I. Joe, but he still looks pretty cool. G.I. Joe says, probably give Flint the higher sleeves and hopefully a head sculpt. Yeah, I mean, they did give Duke a new head sculpt, so maybe Flint will get a new one too. Shark says, still waiting on Lifeline, either Tiger Force or his regular suit. He'll probably be way later in 2025. I feel like with Lifeline, they possibly might head for a Tiger Force version first, and then that'll be an easy call for them to make extra money to reuse that body mold and give us a regular version. Because I feel like if they do a regular Lifeline first, I mean, they still might do it, but if they give us a regular Lifeline first, maybe people might not be that interested in the Tiger Force version afterwards. So if the Tiger Force version can sell enough and make Hasbro enough money, then we can get a good Lifeline later on. All right, so those are the name onlys. Now let's move on to the figures that came out today. We're gonna go kind of out of order, but let's so for those that are just watching, these will probably be the last names of 2024 before we get new announcements in 2025 for GI Joe Day in February. So yeah, we'll come back to this list probably next year for whatever comes out. All right, so the first figure that I want to talk about is the Trench Viper. However, I want to look at the photography that came out with this figure, and it's whatever, I forgot the name of this thing. But so they did share that you can stack these pieces together to kind of give it like a higher ground kind of thing, and kind of build like a cool little bunker. And then on top of that, the figure does come with ladders, which we'll talk about in a little bit. However, the inside, in the interior of these things, they have like a weapons rack, a few holes for a figure to stand in to, you know, shoot some ammo, as it seems in the bottom right photo. Some cool Cobra logos, and it's like colored in that nice Cobra blue. Overall, I think this one is it's a pretty. So here's the thing, for someone like me, I am not a toy photographer, and I am not a toy diorama or display type person. So even if this is not in my field of collecting, it's still very cool to see, because these pictures really helps sell these, in the sense of, you know, it helps. It's one of the first things we have in the GI Joe playset world, which is very exciting, because I didn't think that something like this would happen. But it does come with some cool lights on the top that you can hook onto, and I think the websites did say, or as everyone is saying in the chat, it's 3 per person, which I guess it makes sense. However, just the way that they did the display on this middle photo that you see here, with the 2 lights on the top, that is basically them telling you this is how it should be. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, again, this is not something for me as a collector, but I can still appreciate how awesome it looks, and I think it's going to look fantastic for those who do buy it, and for those who actually, you know, are people that are into like a really cool display or diorama pics or photography. So again, this, if I were to collect it, it definitely helps like sell it, because it looks really cool with all the sacks and stuff like in the dirt, and just the whole scenery of like the nighttime like battlefield looks freaking like, it's really a job well done for the photography team at Hasbro. Zed Burn says it's $600 worth of porta potties in that pic, which is pretty steep. I won't lie. Mr. Madga says pass on a lot of them. Mr. Madga says we need a retro road pig, probably without the tattoos. Robert Wantland says 3 at a time. Vil the Great is passing on it. But Vulture says, let me order 3 Trench Vipers. I forgot who said this, but I did read comments of people saying that they wanted to have this being sold separate compared to having a Trench Viper. I believe the Trench Viper was an easy call, because it's literally a repaint of the Alley Viper, which we'll get into in a little bit. But it's definitely one of those things where it'll help them make some extra money on a figure and molds that they already have, while selling the square piece of plastic, because selling it on its own, sure, it could sell out, and sure, they could you know, make some good money off of it, and, you know, sell a lot of them. But I believe there's only so much they can do in 6-inch scale, to the point where the main essence are really the figures, and not necessarily the play sets with it. Patrick Yule says, I got 3. Congratulations, bro. $49er Brian says, Shark, my homie, what up, bro? Thank you so much for joining, man. I appreciate it. Welcome to the live stream. It's good to see you again. And it's good to see all these familiar names back on the live streams. So thank you guys for making this beautiful and easy transition back. I appreciate that. 49er says the outhouses must be protected at Vale cost Cobra. Patrick says, I spent a little time inside guard shacks and bunkers, and this is military grade. Ah, well, that's awesome, man. It's good to see it from your perspective, which is pretty dope. Maximum Warp says, sadly, I only want the figure and won't be buying the bunker to get him. That's, well, I think you'll probably be in luck because those who bought 3 will probably be selling the figures at some point. So you can probably find it on eBay for maybe a little cheaper. Shouldn't be an issue because some people will probably be building this thing up like intensely. Title Manosphere Sheer, nice to see you again. He says, did you discuss heavy duty? No, I did not. This is the first topic of the stream, so you're right on schedule. Okay, so that is a cool photography of the, I guess what people are saying, the porta potties, which I thought was pretty funny. The next image we're gonna look at is the packaging for this figure and its accessories and stuff. So it comes with only one of those sacks, which they should have at least included maybe one more. It's got 2 ladders obviously to connect because you can build on top as we see in the box cover art. And then everything else, the 2 lights, and then the, what was that, other accessories. I mean, it looks cool, like there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, had this figure had been like a new mold or something that's kind of we haven't seen before, because again, I believe Trench Viper is a newly made character, I think. So utilizing an Alley Viper body doesn't really justify. However, there is an Alley Viper, I forgot what version that was, that has the blue camo with the white and black. So this kind of fits right into that aesthetic of the O-ring figure. So I think they kind of like killed 2 birds with 1 stone with that one, which is clever, because maybe they didn't want people to get pissed off saying, here's another Alley Viper that's blue this time, and instead we might as well just call it a Trench Viper and put it inside the whatever you want to call this thing. I keep forgetting the damn name. Robert says, do you think they will make more things to fit this? I do believe they will, because you know, with G.I. Joe, you know, we've seen the fact that play sets is going to be very difficult for 6-inch figures. So if this is the best that they can do right now, I believe that creating minor pieces that you can kind of put together this way will be a great way for them to build like towers or build like some kind of base, which I think would be pretty sick. Rachel Salinas, thank you so much for joining. Welcome back to the channel. It says Trench Viper is a new name but has precedence of an Alley Viper repaint. Absolutely true. Zed Burns says 3 sandbags and 1 ladder. I don't mind the 2 ladders, just cause, you know, say like you buy 2 of these, it'll just make it easier to climb. However, yeah, at least 2 sandbags would have made it a little better. He says, I'd be more interested if it had 2 or 3 sandbag walls. For me, that's throwing money away to buy a bunch of them. $35 should have been the price. For those that are in the chat, I forgot, what was the price of this thing again? Because Mr. Madga says it should have been $35. Zed Burn says, Trench Viper is kind of what Alley Viper should have looked like. The diorama comes with 2 blue walls and 1 Cobra wall, so that they made was really only like 4 sets. Okay, so everyone is saying 55 or 54.99. Okay, so let's break down the math in the most inaccurate way possible. The figure itself in Alley Viper repaint, we would say what, $25, because that's pretty much the price point of classified figures now. And then the additional $30 goes into ladder, sandbag, and that little, I guess I'm just gonna call it the porta potty just because I keep forgetting the damn name of this thing. The port, whatever the hell, I don't know, I'm sorry. As it says, Cobra modular fortification. That's cool. So about $30 for that. So would you guys actually be interested in paying $30-something for the little modular thing, or wouldn't the bunker, really great, thank you, or paying you know, an additional $20 and get a brand new figure for it? Because again, I feel like we've seen people's views on the Alley Viper when they reveal the Crimson version, and then I forgot what was it there? The Crimson one, and then I think that was the only one. But regardless, we've seen like they didn't sell out too much. So I think including this figure with the bunker, just it kind of makes sense because it fits the color scheme very well. Vil the Great says hopefully it goes on sale. $30 for the bunker. Okay, so everyone says, well, mostly everyone is saying it would have been more worth the price if it was around the $30 range. So about $90 for 3 of these, which is pretty crazy, but good enough for what it is. Rachel says $30 is not bad compared to some of the 3D printed offerings out there. Yeah, I mean, if you're a 3D printer type of person, I mean, you could literally expand the hell out of this thing. I mean, this is just one little squared bunker. I mean, even if you buy just one, you can literally just build something around it, which is pretty sick. Villain says, I'd rather get a set Andy figure and just a set, because having a figure gives you a figure to go with this set that ties into more bang for your buck. Okay, I see where you're going with that. Benedict says, I like the figure. Maybe if I see it on sale, I'd pick one up. Still haven't picked that Crimson 3-pack on Hasbro Pulse. Damn. It's been on sale quite a few times here and there. Liquid Identity says, tempted to get 2 and make a checkpoint, but that's a little weak in design. Personally, if I was someone who collected this kind of thing, I would just buy 2 and then find like somebody who does 3D printing and then expand it in a better way that way. Because again, let me just quickly go back to the first photo real quick. Unless you're willing to make a bunker or the wall that the way Zed Burns is saying, like the way this photo is indicating, then, you know, hold on, let me think of something. Because, hold on. Is there a door to the other side, or is it an open, like just like an open thing where the ladder you can just climb in? Because I'm forgetting that if you were to create this giant ass little thing, it's basically on the other side. It's all just gonna be squares stacked up on top of each other, and then that's where the ladders would come in for them to like open and get in or whatever. So if it was like how, let's say, like a command center or something, and if it was like open, where if you look on the inside, each from left to right was like different mechanics and like computers and technology and all that stuff. I know this is a bunker, but I'm just saying, like, if it had all that other stuff, maybe this display would be more ideal. But the fact that if it's closed, then it's literally just like stacking dumpsters on top of each other. Which, again, if you look at the photo on the right, you'll see the figure standing in there just with the little sniper, the gun or whatever, and then like how many of those are you gonna have like on each side? Because the ones on the bottom are all closed off, or like they're faced in a different position because the Cobra logos are in different positions. So yeah, maybe it would be more ideal to buy 2 and then 3D print the rest of it on your own and then make more bang for your buck that way. Shark says, it says an opening. Robert says open. Jason says, oh, welcome, Jason. Sorry, I think I forgot to say thank you for joining the channel, Jason, or the stream. I look at this and think if someone threw a grenade in there, I would want the option to jump somewhere. Okay, that's funny. You would have to have really good aim to throw a grenade in there, though. For sure. Mr. Maggie says exactly. Sean R says, I put in for 3. In my mind, they will go good with the Rattler. Ooh, good one. Yeah, Rattler is the same color scheme. Alley Viper was one of my favorites as a kid, so I don't mind getting them with the Medusa. Another set of sandbags would be good, though. I actually didn't even think about the Rattler because it does have the same color scheme. But yeah, so that's the figure and the bunker, or the Cobra modular fortification. This is actually one of my favorite photos of this. Sorry, not that one. Let me quickly just talk about the figure, even though we already did. These are just some of my other photo favorites, I guess, in the photography that they did. So there's one Trench Viper that you see in the back right. He has like ammo around his shoulders, which I don't think comes with. Does it come with? So okay, so it does, but it only comes with 1. So the way that this photo displays that, he has both of them around his shoulders, which is, you know, it's pretty cool. It's clever. But again, I mean, I like the camo designs. I like the blue. I like the all black. I have nothing against the style of Alley Vipers in general. It's just I would have really preferred like a kind of like a newer design, because when you're saying like, oh, Trench Viper, like you would think it's like some new mold or something, but when you see Trench Viper and you're like, damn, it's already like a remade figure. Imagine if they couple this piece with the Pursuit of Cobra Shock Trooper. Shock Troopers would be sick. You know, there's a Shock Trooper that came with Serpentor in the old 2-pack in the year 2000. And then that one's going for like really good money. And I'm trying to look for that 2-pack and I can't find. And Shock Viper just on eBay in general is like freaking expensive as hell. Patrick says, who would be a good figure to go with the bunker? A loader for the gun. I think if you customize the gunner that comes with the Rattler, he would be pretty sick because he has that same shade of blue. Zed says, why would you put a bullseye on your face? I mean, Cobras are not the smartest tools in the shed. But yeah, so that's pretty cool photography there. But this is what I wanted to show. Is this is actually my favorite photo of all the ones we've seen. And just to kind of geek out a little bit, because if I were to go back to my younger days of playing with my O-ring figures, the photographer of this, or just like the setup, is absolutely beautiful, because you have like the wooden panels that kind of look like it has moss on it. The left side, you have, you know, the lights kind of like facing towards the outer ground, and then on top of that, it just looks like the perfect photo for a Viper to be like surveilling the perimeter. So I do appreciate this kind of photography, because as a kid I kind of wished I had this kind of artistic ability to create this kind of scene in my head with my old toys. But just looking at it, it's like, again, these kinds of things is what really helps sell the toys. And again, if you're someone that's like really into like the story aesthetic of G.I. Joe, or the concept of like world building, like if you had the same exact setup in the first issue of G.I. Joe from, what was it, Marvel? Was it the Marvel comics? The first issue, there was that scene where Snake Eyes and Scarlet were infiltrating the Cobra base. So you can literally imagine Snake Eyes just like using stealth mode and getting into this thing and like slicing up these trench vipers like left and right, which is freaking badass. Like I approve of this like 100% of how great this looks. And again, the lights and all that, it's really good. It just depends how much you want to world build, because I personally don't have any room for this whatsoever. But it's still, again, just looking at the whoever's the artist of putting like the moss on the wooden panels is like chef's kiss right there. It just really defines like great like artistry right there. And I'm drooling, but I just had to get that out there. All right, let's read the chat real quick. Zed says it's subliminally suggesting you need to buy more than one. I agree. Why? Sorry, I read that. Is that a Rattler logo on his face? I don't think so. 49er says my great grandfather was in World War I, fought in the trenches. He wore nothing like this. I mean, that would be interesting if he did, but then that would be bad because he'd be part of Cobra. I'm shocked that the bunker is an $85 item. Again, we have to remember that maybe the quality in plastic is also not intense either, so maybe they wanted to like lower the price. Benedict says reminds me of Metal Gear Solid. That's pretty dope. I approve of that comment. Patrick says I thought the bunker was going to be 100. I mean, valid. I think I would have probably guessed around like 60 or something at most. Shark says red looks like targeting system built into the helmet for aiming. Yeah, it's kind of like a similar like a Night Viper vibe. Freddy Vargas, welcome. Says, when is Nemesis going to ship? I believe some people have gotten notifications that Nemesis is already shipping. Rachel says, I believe space issues is why the footprint on this set is so small. That's true. Nemesis is on the way. Alright, so that is Trench Viper. Kind of like a hit and miss, but still pretty decent for what it is. You know, if you're into that whole world building kind of thing. So yeah, cool figure. Up next we have Heavy Duty. What are your thoughts on this figure now that we've seen him without the digital render? I've seen people come to acceptance that he looks pretty good. So are you guys a fan of this character? Do you still think it's not as good? Let me know. Title Manager says, mine shipped, but Freddy got no shipping notification. Vil the Great says, passing on this one. Temple says he looks good. I didn't have him as a kid, but I'll buy. Snowglare says, love Heavy Duty. Skyfall, how's it going? Thank you so much for joining. Says, will the rockets fit or will they be loose? Hopefully, if it's not the same as Metalhead, it should be pretty snug in there, I hope. Patrick says, pass on Duty, he looks goofy. Rachel says, I like Heavy Duty for the most part. Zed says, looks like the missiles might fit in on this one. Benedict says, he looks dope. Robert says, he looks good, but a pass. Jason says, I like that we can take a part of his weapon, so it's not like so over the top. Sean R says, really excited but not happy the rockets just kind of flop around in the launcher like metalheads, but Jason is picking his up. Derek says, Nemesis has shipped, unfortunately Hasbro used DHL. Yeah, I heard DHL is not the most reliable, but it, you know, at least it's shipping, so gotta counter blessings on that. So the Heavy Duty that I have in my O-ring collection is the one where he's wearing brown pants or gray pants with the orange and white or black camo design, and he has an orange cap that says Joe on the back, or the front, and then he has like an orange shirt. So this one is nice. I do like it. It's just I prefer the version that wears the orange instead. That's just the version that I preferred in my collection in the O-ring line. But the packaging is cool. The weapons are nice. It comes with that nice extra head sculpt with the faded hairstyle, the flat top, 2 knives, 2 fisted hands, headphones, and I believe his bio did say that he's a guitarist. So I guess he's been shredding guitars here and there, but the outfit itself is fine. I like the green pants, the boots, the overall like style of him, because he is again Roadblock's cousin. So and according to the GI Joe Spy Troops movie, Heavy Duty was like, I guess, the chef of that movie compared to Roadblock. So Jason says, can you show us your Heavy Duty? I wish I could, but if you can see my toy display like in the corner right there, Heavy Duty is like somewhere in like the back or like side of the figure, so that would have to remove all the other figures like from the front to get him. But I hope to do a video of all my O-ring collections on this channel, so I gotta figure out how I'm gonna do that, but stay tuned for it because that should be pretty fun to do. Looking at the photography of this figure, I like the fact that they use the trench vipers and the bunker. So basically Heavy Duty is going on a stealth mission, or he's just basically being a badass and just kind of, you know, attacking these guys from the back. He has his whole missile rocket launcher thingy like on his shoulders that's removable, and then he has the big gimmick of like, you know, wrapping all over his torso and stuff. So it's cool that it gives you a bit of diversity, that you don't have to utilize that whole heavy mechanic on his shoulders because people are afraid that he's going to be some top heavy. But at least they give you the option to remove it, and he can just kind of hold it on his shoulders and whatever. So, and one of the coolest things about this photo is that the attention to detail of the necklace that he's wearing is actually shifted to his left, which basically means that he's jumping in the air, and they gave it that effect that the wind is blowing it around his neck. So if the necklace was actually facing forward, I would have said it's still a fine photo, but the fact that they did that just shows me that they pay attention to small little details like that, which is freaking fantastic. So I give, props to that. Patrick says, I would like a heavy duty with a weapon, not from the Aliens universe. So the thing about his weapons, though, is that this is basically what he utilized in the Deke series cartoon. So it's pretty faithful, it's pretty accurate. So this is just one of those characters that would probably not get like an upgraded weapon per se, because again, this is the world of G.I. Joe, and this is around the time where a lot of it was not too military focused, but more on the goofier side or more fantasy, because this era of G.I. Joe where heavy duty was involved fit more of like the neon brighter colors or the wild weapons and stuff like that. Zed says he's jumping out of the porta potty. Charles says, I hope Hasbro sells apart the bunker. I like your display photo, Charles. Jedi on the Great Path says, my Nemesis should be here by this weekend. Sorry for the delayed response. I'm at work. It's all good, bro. Thank you so much for joining anyway. I appreciate even just the one comment. So thank you, Jedi. 13 Shark says, from the series with heavy duty, I'm looking forward to Stretcher. Stretcher would be a cool character. Whoever does the photos is great. I agree. Mr. Magus says, known fact, he's from Chicago. That's cool. Rachel says, Hasbro shipped a retro Cobra Trooper to me by DHL. I still haven't received it. Ooh, that's tough. Zed says, anybody's retro Trooper got a loose abs and waist? I don't know. But yeah, so that's heavy duty. Nothing too much to say there other than it's a nice looking figure. Just, it's one of those things where the weapons is just not people's per se, but you can see that he's really like on a solo mission trying to kill some trench vipers. So pretty interesting. I like it. Jason says, heavy duty is the only Joe that shouts goofy go when everyone says G.I. Joe. RK says, was it Renegades where they showed heavy duty and Roadblock as cousins? I don't really remember Renegades that much. I do remember that in the Spy Troops 2008 movie is where they showed them as cousins. Even Valor versus Venom, I believe. But I think Renegades possibly did as well. Alright, so now let's get on to the digital renders from New York Comic Con, because this is the one of the interesting ones. So up first, we're going to be taking a look at FRAGVIPER. Now, FRAGVIPER's headpiece was actually leaked many months ago as a prototype, so we basically knew what this figure kind of was looking like already, but the body was up in question. However, FRAGVIPER is just one of those characters where he was also in the G.I. Joe Deke series, the cartoon, and he had very minor appearances in there. However, if the whole orange and blue and like alien style helmet is not your thing, then this is really not an issue to pass on the figure. But it's one of those things where unless you just grew up with the figure and you like it, it's fine, but it's not a big deal. However, the attachment piece that you see on the top right, it's like a claw type thing, like how they do like rugby or something like that. One of those not rugby, sorry, damn, what is that sport called? Lacrosse, like a lacrosse stick kind of thing. That's how I always imagined it from when I was a kid. So it kind of has like that kind of vibe, but it's just one of those figures where, you know, you're looking at blue and orange, which is such a strange and odd combination, but I think it would be pretty cool. Charles says, I'm hyped for FRAGVIPER. Mr. Madiga says, I love that color. Derek, on the other hand, says, hard pass. By the way, if you're watching the stream right now, please go ahead and give this video a like. And if you're new, go ahead and subscribe, because let's try to get this channel popping again if possible. Liquid Identity says Goofy design will wait for in-hand reviews. I think, yeah, I think once they add the attachments to the figure, it should look even better. Ionic Blood says it's called a Cesta. Thank you so much. Liquid says ditch the July and give him a normal MGL, problem solved. Yeah, so overall, like the helmet itself, like this is like one of those figures where I don't own the O-ring figure yet, but sometimes the classified figure helps me like the O-ring figures even more. So I probably will buy the O-ring version at some point, just because maybe if the classified version is not for me, at least and you know, it's not going to be as detailed, or the O-ring version won't be as detailed, but it's still a nice addition regardless. Welcome, Greg Archer. Thank you so much for joining. It's okay, bro. No, not too late, but it's all good. Rachel says, in order to reduce costs, FRAGVIPERs have to swipe their debit cards before the backpack will dispense a grenade. Damn, that's crazy. Ionic Blood says, Crystal Ball might not be so bad. Yeah, Emily did say from the panel that Crystal Ball looks pretty good, so I'll take her word on that, because she hasn't let us down yet in terms of saying figures look bad or good, so I'll trust her marketing skills on that one. Okay, so that is FRAGVIPER. It's just one of those figures where a lot of people don't know who he is or have any kind of attachment to it, but it's just one of those figures where you either want it or you don't. So it's not like, you know, it's not really a big deal type of figure, but it's just a nice little add-on. Plus, I don't think the O-ring version had knee pads, but whatever. Christian Herrick Cornemuse Bagpipe says, hey Shark, how's it going, Christian? Thank you so much for joining, bro. I appreciate it. Welcome back to the channel, man. Thank you so much. I might get the higher version. I've been lacking on a Cobra classified figures lately. Yeah, I mean, I've realistically speaking, I've been focusing on other toy lines right now. That classified has kind of been a little far on the back burner for a little bit. But it's, you know, it's fine, because I'm being a little more selective in my classified purchases. Instead, I would take that and buy O-ring figures. All right, so the next figure we're going to take a look at is a very interesting one, and that is Blowtorch. Oh crap. Now, what are your thoughts on Blowtorch? And don't forget, oh, I forgot to mention, Blowtorch and FRAGVIPER's helmets do come off. They are removable, so we have to see what the head sculpts will look like underneath. Well, it's good to see you again, Christian. Okay. Robert says Blowtorch. Iron Blood says fire, pun intended. Vil needs to see more photos. Yes, please, says Liquid Identity. Temple says hate the green gun, but otherwise he's awesome. Unfortunately, the green gun is accurate to the old vintage O-ring, so I can't. But then again, I see where you're going with it, because if this is a modern version, then at least they could have just made it black, but I guess, I don't know, Hasbro being Hasbro. Greg Archer says, I got the Haya, Destro, so far, Coco, Firefly, Beachhead, and Flint. Damn, that's a pretty deep roster. RK, love his look, very retro from what I remember as a kid. Agreed. Rachel says, Blowtorch looks okay, but I thought he would be bulkier. So, hold on, I'll share my thoughts in a bit. Zed Burn says, I don't like the silver nipples and the black knee, whatever that pet. The G.I. Joe figures need to have the knee pads, man. That's my downfall. Pork chop sandwiches, says Liquid Identity. G.I. Joe says they need a retro Blowtorch with the original colors. FRAGVIPER helmet is removable. What? Yes, they did announce that FRAGVIPER's helmet is removable, so can't wait to see what his head will be like underneath. Patrick Yule says, what's the gray circles for? To be honest, I don't know, but the original version, the O-ring one, did have the same circles on it. It just was not gray. So this kind of gives me, like, just because it's a render, it has like a little polish or shiny vibe to it. So it kind of has like an Iron Man feel to it. But it has like a Thor chest piece with those silver buttons. Again, I don't know the perfect terminology for this. However, honestly, this literally screams out that there's going to be a retro one at some point without those nasty black knee pads, which to me personally, it throws me off and it's not good. They shouldn't have added those in there, because the design wise, it's very similar to the O-ring one, which I'll give them credit for. But had they just removed that black and kind of did something else with it, I would have approved of it a lot more. The helmet's fine. The design of it is still okay, but flame effects are cool. Weapon, whatever. Like, again, I had something completely different envisioned for him. However, G.I. Joe always seems to amaze me how, you know, how much they can really switch it up a bit. I'm hoping for a retro cardback version. Christian says, I like it. Sean R says, rather the torch was black. Mini Rocket should have been black or gray, says BD Bonzi. Christian says, I was looking for this figure. Still not sure about the round metal things. Greg Archer says, they could have done better with Blowtorch. I prefer a retro one. Pork chop sandwiches, says Benedict. Mr. Madgus, I'm glad I answered that for you. Retro card back. Null says, I'm pretty stoked for all of them. Damn, you know, I should have wrote all. Sorry, my bad. Mr. Madgus, you already know about my thoughts on knee pads. Shark says, no axe. I don't think he came with an axe. But you know what would have been cool, though? If, you know that Firefighter, the Legacy series, G.I. Joe, that they just revealed with the digital render? We talked about it in the last stream. The blanket that comes with that figure where you can wrap somebody if they're on fire or something. They could have added that blanket with this figure too, but then they probably would have made it a deluxe figure or something, which kind of would have sucked. Oh, well, Jason was speaking my thoughts. The Anniversary Firefighter has a lot of spare axes. So, now the thing that confuses me, again, this is going to be one of those random thoughts, but the reason why I say that they're probably going to do a retro version of Blowtorch is because if you were to put this Blowtorch next to Barbecue, it's kind of a night and day difference, because Barbecue is as original and as classic as it gets in the classified line. And you look at this dude, he looks like he came from the year like 2035 with his heavy Iron Man armor. So Barbecue standing next to Blowtorch would be like looking at two different styles of figures, which respectively speaking they are. So I feel like it's an easy way for them to be like, we'll give you a classic Blowtorch so it goes hand in hand with your somewhat classic Cobra Island Barbecue, because there's no reason for them to update a Barbecue figure, because Barbecue again is as classic as that gets. So with this guy being pretty updated and modern looking, it just, for me, it screams out that maybe in the year 2027 or 26 or some shit like that, we'll get like a classic retro Blowtorch. Ionic Blood says he looks like a Centurion figure. That too. But I mean, like, don't get me wrong, it looks cool, I like it. It's just one of those things where, you know, seeing, again, like how we talked about earlier in the chat about how some figures are being remade or reissued into retro versions. So we know that not every figure is going to get retroed, but this one definitely has that, yeah, give me like 2 years and I'll come back. So again, because if well, Snow Serpent and Eels weren't that big of a drastic difference anyway. Zed Burn says the gray circles are his peg holes for the add-ons. You're going way back, he looks great. Yep. So that is Blowtorch. Again, great figure for what it is. It's just one of those things where I maybe have to wait and see how it looks in person. So yeah, I mean, again, 2025, not really the, I didn't really picture him this way, but it's fine for what it is. All right, and now Elevator, ooh, what? Hold on. Elevate me to a higher human form says body may also be used for a classified fast draw. RK says, I thought Lenny just about all figures would get a retro card back. I don't know about every figure, but I feel like a good amount will be. But now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this whole damn stream, which is none other than, but again, we'll go back to Blowtorch and FRAGVIPER when we get more official photos, so we'll come back to them at some point. Before we get to the next topic, if you haven't liked this video, let's go ahead and give this video a like. Let's get this channel popping again. Round 3, so if you guys can go ahead and do so, that'd be nice. And thank you to all 60 plus of you in the chat, or thank you to all of you in the chat right now, and thank you to all 60 plus of you watching the stream right now. It's good to have you guys back. Whether you're in the chat or you're just watching, thank you so much for joining anyway. Jimmy So, good to see you again, bro. Let's give this video more likes. Yes, please. Wish I got Retro Snake Eyes not to open. Retro Flint will be insane. Very true. Alright. So now, today, this figure when, or no, not today, sorry, yesterday, this figure, technically, I guess what people were saying was not a technical pre-order, but it was a figure to order, and he's already shipping out, and that's none other than Nemesis Immortal Enforcer. So, before I share my thoughts, what are your thoughts on this figure? Did you get him? Did you miss out on it? Do you like this figure? Do you hate it? Is Cobra Law not your thing? Carl Del Rio says, with you all the way, homie. Thanks for the news. Appreciate it, Carl. Thank you so much for joining the journey of the channel's ups and downs. Damn, Crystal Pepsi, says Jason. Thank you, Jason, though. Mr. Madga says easy pass. Vil the Great says I ordered him. Vulture got 3. Damn, that's crazy. Zed Burn says, does he immortally enforce or enforce immortally? I think he nemesisly immortals the enforcement. Grabbed him, says RK. Love Cobra Law. Liquid Identity says, Nemesis almost got me to accept Cobra Law, but it's sold out now, so I couldn't care less again. Damn. That's a nice way to put it. Greg Archer says, I got 2. Rachel says, I ordered Nemesis, looking forward to getting this one. Robert says, pass, not a fan of Cobra Law. Ionic says, they better make Pythona. Sean R says, I like him, hope you get the rest of Cobra Law. Jason says, thank you, Shark, because of you, I got him on the dot. I do wish the wings were bigger, but I like it. We'll talk about this figure more in depth in a little bit. He looks like a comic book version of him. I like him personally, thought he was going to sell out. Volster says, I'm not going to use that bony head. Alright, well, yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. Greg Archer says, I came back in stock this morning for about 5 minutes. Can't wait to see the rest of the Cobra Law figures they came out with. So, if you guys remember the crazy part from Once a Man Cobra Commander, if you are planning to get this figure but you did not get a chance, do not panic or do not worry. Just because it's sold out doesn't mean that they're not going to restock. It's just a Hasbro gimmick for them to, you know, build a lot of FOMO and for people to buy through eBay and third party and all that stuff. Once a Man Cobra Commander went up for pre-order, I think 3 or 4 times. So, and I feel like this figure will do the same. Maybe not in the next few weeks or month, but if you are subscribed to the channel, I will definitely post in my community tab page when he goes back up for order. But according to Patrick Yule, he says he is back up for sale. I don't know if he is or not, but if you guys want to go ahead and check, that'd be cool. Robert Watnell says he's on Pulse and Nemesis back up. Okay, so go ahead and get your Nemesis. I guess he's back up on Pulse right now. For those that are watching, go for it, go for it. Actually, let me check while I'm actually here. GIJOE Classified Series. Well, on my end, it still says sold out, but it has the green dot that says in stock, but it doesn't let you click anything, so I guess that's not the case right now. Greg Archer says, I won't use the money head or wings. I'll use the tentacles and classic head sculpt. Jason says, I want Nemesis and Force and Pythona in a Mortal Kombat game. That'd be crazy. I just hope we only get 3 Cobra Law figures, a Globulus, Pythona, and a Royal Guard. Yes, that is true. Those are the last 3 pretty much. There's no one else in the Cobra Law team. He is okay. So Vulture says, Shark, did you get one? So here's the thing. I did not get this figure, and the reason for this is because, one, this is based on the Skybound comics, and if you guys look on Google, type in Nemesis Immortal from the Skybound comic book, that's basically fairly new. He is inspired off of that version. So my only inkling would be that they will most likely re-release this figure, and he's going to look classic and look the way he did in the animated movie, because the animated movie version and this version is roughly the same, but a lot of it has some differences in there. And of course, the wings being the biggest takeaway here. And even though they gave us a classic head sculpt, but if you look at his feet with those 2 dragon-style toes and the little puny wings that he comes with and whatever, to me, it just seems like they're going to re-release this figure in a classic version that's literally the way he looked like in the animated movie, because if you compare this version to the animated movie version, you'll see that there's a lot of somewhat differences, enough for them to re-release him. So as much as I would like a Nemesis Immortal, Enforcer, whatever the hell his name is figure, I would really prefer to just wait, because again, this aesthetically fits right in the realm of an updated version classified Nemesis figure. But I do have a feeling Title Manosphere says, be honest, you didn't get it because the lack of knee pads. Oh no, I mean, he does have those knee pads. Look at those red joints right there. Oh man, I'm just gonna change the whole channel name to knee pad something retro GI knee pad. And you know, as Mr. Madguess hilariously says, the damn wings ain't flying his big ass nowhere. I mean, yeah, I mean, he's a big bulky figure. Don't get me wrong, I like the figure. I like the design of it. The wings are cool, but it's not like, it's not badass looking. Like, these wings are very familiar to that Venom Marvel Legends figure. I don't know what that figure's name was. And I've seen so many better versions of wings on other various figures. And again, if you Google Nemesis Immortal, you'll see that he has different style wings. Vulture says shark pads. I mean, that also sounds pretty interesting, but yeah, maybe. Even the wings that he had in the animated movie were very intimidating. These are like very scrawny, skinny, you know, whatever type wings. So again, I'm going to hold my breath on this figure and bite my tongue and not get this figure, and just hope for the best that in the next year or 2, maybe 3, they will give us a movie version Nemesis figure, just because again, this is based off the Skybound comics. And if I have no attachment to the comics, especially the Skybound ones, then I don't really need it. Even if it looks like a good figure, it's just I have no attachment to it. Rather than, if you've been on the RetroShArK channel or Shark News channel, you will hear me say multiple times that the 1987 G.I. Joe movie was the biggest highlight for me as a Joe collector and Joe fan. And that's what made me fall in love with a lot of the G.I. Joe figures. So yeah, Skybound is not necessarily there for me. Jason says null. Okay, so it's null. Okay, thank you. Benedict says, is that green thing supposed to be mutated snakes? So it's kind of like tentacle type scenario where if you look at the damn, okay, I personally don't remember the specific name for it, but if you actually Google it, there's actually a description that tells you what these green things are. And again, because he's part of Cobra Law, where like the whole universe of Cobra Law was like full of weird insects and giant ass like bugs and worms and whatever, the green thing fits right into that aesthetic of it. So I apologize for not knowing right off the top of my head, but it does tell you on Google what it is. Looks like crackhead bat wings. Greg Archer says Null's wings suck. Pythona was that rescuing Serpenter. But as we move on to the box art and the photography, there's one slight disappointment that I have with this figure for those who have not seen it. If you guys are fans of Toy Galaxy or Secret Galaxy, Dan Larson or whatever the hell he goes by, he luckily already has the figure in hand because Hasbro gave it to him, and he did a comparison of the figure with other classified figures, and unfortunately this figure is roughly the same size as Serpenter. Now, Serpenter is already a tall-ass figure, but Nemesis Enforcer is supposed to be roughly taller. So that's what I don't like, is that he should be a little more massive in height. So the cool thing is that in the photography world, we can see him fighting the Mad Marauder, Sergeant Slaughter. So if you remember from the 1987 movie, Nemesis Immortal and Sergeant Slaughter had a big fight in there near the end of the movie, so that's pretty cool. And Sergeant Slaughter basically kicks his ass, and that was one of my biggest pet peeves of that ending of that movie, because Sergeant Slaughter literally throws Nemesis Immortal down into the little the little hole or the cave thing, whatever, on the floor, and Nemesis Immortal just screams and falls down there. But I'm like, bro, you have wings, you can just fly out. And we just never see him after that, which was stupid. But we see him with the Once a Man Cobra Commander, which is cool. We know that their history with that in the movie of Nemesis Immortal basically flying Cobra Commander's ass to the clamshell and kind of, sticks the spore pods in his face. I want the pink clam. I mean, I didn't know there was a high demand for the pink clam. That's actually pretty funny. The Joe fan base is out of control. But packaging art is cool, or like the box art is cool, photography is cool. Here are some other cool looking photos. So yeah, you can see it's not like snakes or anything, but it's just yeah, I don't know how to also explain it. It's Cobra Law. it's a bizarre little thing. But the photography does look pretty dope. Again, the wings are not the best, but again, I understand that the source material is the Skybound comics, so it's if it's faithful to the comic, then I'm not gonna nitpick it too hard. But it's not something that I need right now. I'm gonna wait and hopefully expect to get a retro version at some point, because this figure and Blowtorch are the only two figures right now that are screaming out like we will get a re-release at some point. Jason says we want the pink clam over the patches. Damn, I remember the patches. He's a wrecking Michonne, says Patrick Ewell. I'm knee pad deep in 3 pink clams these days. Damn. Mickey loves pink clams. Adam and Eve exclusive. If they're gonna give Porta Potty, we want the clam. It's all good, bro. I enjoy when people are having fun on the chat, so no need to apologize. When you guys are having fun in the chat, that's all that's important to me. I'm just here to ramble because I'm a host of the live stream, and I'm supposed to like delegate, but whatever. As long as you guys are enjoying, that's all I care about. Sergeant Slaughter dropped by at the photo shoot just to suplex the star of the photo. Yeah, that's very true. And they used the Mad Marauders version instead of the regular one. Someone took the actor's voice from Dirty Old Man and put it over Globulus and Insane. Benny 275, yo, let's go. Welcome, Benny. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. Hi, Magneto. Is that the comic with the Transformers Pretenders, a little hidden figure in the background? Looks like Bludgeon, but that's just me. Well, that's funny because speaking of teases, bam. Who do you guys think this little tease is? Let me see what you guys think it is first, and then I'll tell you who I think it is. At this point, you guys should know that we were definitely going to be talking about this one on the stream. Benedict says Loki. Liquid and Greg Archer says Royal Guard. Patrick says Royal Guard. Robert says Burgess Meredith. Jason says if Hasbro starts making Cobra Lock creatures, those Motu collectors are going to come our way. RK says Royal Guard. Mr. Madgas says Donald Trump. Robert says Budo. Elevate Me says Snake Eyes. Another Snake Eyes says Jason. Vulture says it's Angry Clam. Benedict says Ghostface. Benny says just received the notice that Nemesis is shipping out. Did anyone else get their Nemesis Immortal shipping notification? But other than that, so my guess is just the same as a lot of yours. I do believe that this will most likely be a Royal Guard, because if you own the original vintage O-ring figure of the Royal Guard, you will notice that the weapon is roughly the same style and same design. The chances are that this does have like a Shogun style armor aesthetic, but the the little antler type antenna thingies fits in a modern or like a new version of the Royal Guard. It just seems like, I don't know what Budo would have to do with this, although it could be. But I think because this is a Cobra Law theme, that the Royal Guard would be best bet for this type of figure, because again, the weapons do look very similar to the Royal Guard weapon. It's just he might have a super brand new design, kind of like how one of those that guy from Avengers Infinity War, he had like a longer cloak or whatever. Looks nothing like him, but I'm just saying, like, in terms of a longer but I really it could be a cape, yeah. Mumra from Thundercats. Angry Cleanse with Antlers. Point Buck. Some people were saying that it couldn't be a Royal Guard because there has to be more than one, but this could just be one Royal Guard that's kind of like just a little hidden teaser in the background. So 13Shark says the sword needs to be thicker. That's absolutely true, and I would agree with you on that one, but because we're talking about G.I. Joe Classified where they could really switch things up a bit, you know, they could easily make the sword skinnier this time around, you know, like looking like a scepter or some kind of thing rather than having like a thick sword, unless that's their way of saying that a retro version's coming out or something, which I doubt because it's too soon to tell. But yeah, I believe about 90% that it's most likely a Royal Guard figure, just like completely updated. Like unless it happens to be Budo for some very odd reason, like some samurai shogun warrior finding Cobra Law and trying to, you know, start a war on Nemesis Immortal. That'd be interesting, but most likely I feel like it's you know, it's probably that Royal Guard. Time Bandit says Zed Burns. Look at the arms. The shadow is skinny. Yeah, so okay, so it is a very skinny arm, or maybe it's some kind of weird, unless it's like a brand new character that they're making for this Cobra Law. Like maybe they're expanding the universe of Cobra Law and they're giving us a brand, yeah, exactly like what Elevate Me to the Higher Ground is saying. Maybe it's to introduce a brand new figure into Cobra Law, or like a new figure in general. So Sectars and Cobra Law had a baby and this dude is it? Yeah, it could be. I wouldn't put it past it. But again, this is, I have a feeling we probably won't see this chump till like 2026 or maybe the end of 2025. Possibly. Okay, so other than that, we're gonna keep guessing till the end of time, until whenever the hell this dude releases. So I guess we can all agree that this could be either a Royal Guard or a brand new figure, or Donald Trump. Anyways, so when it comes to, because we've reached the end of the year and at this point there's nothing else to look forward to other than, I mean, aside from other pre-orders, but there's nothing else to look forward to other than the HasLab Dragonfly, which is supposed to be shipping in December, supposedly. We have basically what to look forward to in the following year are so far these digital renders, aside from the name only reveals, which I'm not including in this because this is like the render portion of it. We have Footloose, we have Law and Order, we have Blowtorch, we have the Mass Device Snake Eyes, we have the Cobra Claw and whatever female trooper. I thought that she was going to be up for pre-order today alongside Heavy Duty because those two were kind of hand in hand, but she's still in the back burner for the time being. We have FRAGVIPER, and then we have the 60th anniversary Legacy series, Firefighter. So aside from that, you know, we have version 4 Snake Eyes, we have DARKLON, we have Crystal Ball, still like name only reveals, which we'll add into the digital render section at some point. But these figures so far are the ones to expect to come in 2025, because when it comes to G.I. Joe, at least for me personally, you know, my goal is to not collect every figure because they've already made a lot of my favorites. But once they do like Mainframe, Night Viper, Sci-Fi, and Deep Six, or like other characters like Tracker and Psych Out, you know, figures like that, or even Battle Force 2000, at that point, then I'll be pretty much content because they've made all my favorite characters at that point. Characters like Footloose, Law and Order, like FRAGVIPER, or even this Cobra Claw, whatever. They're not in my high priority list. And Blowtorch, again, we've already spoken about this one. So there's really not many characters left for me to be excited about coming in down the line, because a lot of these other characters for me are just like, I'll get them at some point. It's not like mandatory. But Liquid Identity says, I love these thumbnail Usual Suspects lineups. Thank you, man. I love doing these. I love creating these little graphics right here, just because this is what makes the streams fun. I want a female trooper, says Madgus. Look at Snake Eyes' hands. Tell me we ain't getting that clam. Yeah, we probably will. I was hoping for a Claw was up for pre-order, says Rachel. Yeah, me too. I really thought that she was going to go up for pre-order, but because she was announced like the same time as Heavy Duty, but you know, especially because if you guys, you know, I hate to be like a you know, one of those people, because you know how they always say like, oh, you have to buy Hasbro's products at full price, because if you don't buy it, then you know they won't make their money and then the line's gonna get canceled or whatever. However, you know, we are right around the corner from Black Friday, so there's a really good high chance that a lot of figures are going to go up on sale for a good discounted price, and I feel like whatever those are, I'll see what figures I want. Otherwise, it's not like necessary. Maximum Warp, yes, you reminded me. HydroViper, he's freaking, I love HydroViper, he's cool. Yes, Ice Cream Soldier for sure. I mean, I forgot about Ice Cream Soldier. Sorry, Rachel and Vulture. The Claw is also a must. Yep. Yeah, because if you guys remember what happened last year on Black Friday, so many figures went down to $15, $12. The Viper 3-pack went from like $90 all the way down to like 30 something. I forgot what other figures that was at that time, but they all went roughly around the $15 to $20 range. Even $12 depending which character it was. So we just have, so stay tuned on the community tab page, because I will be posting you know, Amazon links to Cyber Monday and Black Friday deals for sure. Thunder Machine. If it has to do with Arctic Joes, I would love to see what's his name? It was Frostbite. Was it Frostbite? I think it was Frostbite. Armored Cobra Commander. Well, I mean, Renegades are definitely essential with Mercer and Taurus and Red Dog. Hit and Run. Mainframe, yes, is one of my favorite characters. I mean, yeah, Mainframe, Night Viper, Sci-Fi, like anybody from Battle Force 2000. Like I'm like Hydro Viper, maybe Toxo Viper, depending. Those are like my ideal figures. I feel like comics are a good indication of what figures are coming. Chameleon and Mercer are prominent characters. Yeah, I mean, again, if you yeah, I think the Skybound comics are really good indication of who could come next. Who's the Cobra next to Snake Eyes? Says Backwoods. That is the Cobra Claw pilot, I suppose, the female pilot. Oh no, sorry, not Frostbite. I'm thinking of Iceberg. Sorry, Iceberg was my favorite. Malcolm says, "Hey Shark, did you end up getting the Rattler jet?" I did not. Insert sad face. But good news is though that I will be unboxing the HasLab Dragonfly on the channel, so stay tuned for that one. Green sci-fi haven't. Yeah, sci-fi is a mystery on all accounts. But yeah. Yeah, we have the Energon Joes as well. I mean, again, G.I. Joe is very massive. There's enough characters to last another like 30 years at this point, especially if they're doing like 4 figures every like 4 months, and there's still like hundreds and hundreds of characters to release, and especially new characters to create. I mean, this line is going to be killing us up the yin yang. Yeah, I mean, sci-fi was the only figure from the G.I. Joe Operation Blackout game that was not made, so I wanted to do a video on the HasLab Ghostbusters, the Ecto 1 and A1 or whatever, but I just don't know how many people would be interested in me talking about that. I thought it would be a really cool like live stream to do, because I know that whatever, I forgot his name with the glasses, he only has like a week or 2 left to crowdfund the early bird. So yeah. So let's see, how are we doing on time? I hope we get wetsuit. Flash before sci-fi. Glenda already has his weapon. That's true. They did kind of, I think BMAC kind of teased, or Lenny kind of teased the or he mispronounced, or he kind of subtly said like, oh, Glenda uses like Flash's weapons. I'm like, all right. Totally. With Hasbro releasing a non-HasLab Sentinel, this sets up a precedent for stripped-down, cheaper Hiss, Dragonfly, and Rattler versions. You know, I'm not sure, because the Marvel Legends team is getting away with a lot, but that's also because it's a the Sentinel is more of a figure compared to a vehicle, if that makes sense. I think that's kind of 2 separate things. Like, I'm not saying that a HasLab or like a Hiss tank would be off the table. However, because G.I. Joe has no characters other than those giant mech suits from the first animated series, or those robots or whatever. That's the only like giant figures I see them doing. But for them to re-release a Hiss tank but a non-HasLab version, I don't think that would really work. Just because the Hiss tank itself, I mean, I'm looking at it right now, it's already massive, and for them to re-release it would just be, you know, I understand it, a stripped down version. You take away the LED lights, you take away the Cobra logo light, you take away the extra, what do you call it, the canopy and the treads and stuff, which makes 100% sense. I just not sure if that would work money wise, but I don't know, we could still see. Somebody asked me a question. Oh, Antonio. Oh, welcome, Antonio. It's good to see you again, bro. Did you manage to get Nemesis? I did not get Nemesis because I will bite my tongue and hopefully wait for a retro version. That Nemesis is a really cool figure, but it's just not the style that I want him in. So I will hopefully wait for a new a retro one if they do. If not, then maybe in the next couple of months, maybe a year later down the road, I'll probably buy one from someone. But Colonel Hawk, we have Dodger. Yes, Dodger was one of my first O-ring figures as a kid. Dodger and Tracker, 2 favorites from the Joe line as a kid. All right, so with that said, we've hit the 2-hour mark, and I like to keep my streams in that realm. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's stream. I was a bit, again, rusty trying to get everyone back into the groove of things. There's probably not going to be much Joe news because we're hitting towards the end of the year. We got Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and all that stuff, but we should have the GI Joe Day somewhere in February. So stay tuned. As like I said before, I will be unboxing the HasLab Dragonfly on the channel because I did pre-order that one, so that's going to be fun. So yeah, I mean, again, I don't know what else would be there, and just keep checking out on the community tab page and keep checking my YouTube shorts, because that's where I'm going to be posting all the updates for GI Joes. The Shark news segments, all that is gone from the channel because people are giving me too much of a hard time with that. So check the shorts section, check the community tab page. That's where all the updates will be, and of course the live streams will be you know, depending on topics and stuff. But yeah, I'll see if people still want to yeah, if it does come next week. I'm guessing that the Dragonfly is going to probably ship sometime in the next, like, mid-November at some point. Of course, man. I'm glad I was able to help everybody out, whoever decided to do it. And thank you guys all so much for coming back and supporting the channel again for another time. Yes, check your shorts. Good job, Greg. But yeah, I really do appreciate everybody supporting me and coming back here. Even though I lost, going from 15,000 subscribers to 3,000 on Shark News and then down to like 800. It's tough. It was horrible. It affected me deeply, but it's okay. Otherwise, you know, it is what it is. We'll see where it goes from here. Anyways, I want to thank you guys all for watching. Be sure to give a like and subscribe, and I will continue to provide the news the best I can. Thank you so much, Christian, man. You're the best, and I'm glad you were able to catch the stream. Again, so I'll see you guys in November because this is the last stream of October. Stay safe. If you're trick-or-treating, don't eat that nasty-ass candy. Stay away from candy corn. I'm just kidding. I like it. So I'll see you guys all possibly next week in the stream. If anything else happens randomly, just make sure your notifications are on. So I'll see you guys all then. Thanks for everybody watching, and thanks for everybody in the chat. I appreciate you for joining and making my return pretty special. So take care. See you then, and have a good night. Hug your loved ones.